Good afternoon, Mr. Wexler.
Good afternoon.
I want to direct your attention to your time at NIDA University when you were a student. You took courses on drafting policies, correct?
On drafting, on policy drafting. Yes, I took classes on policy drafting.
And on communications, correct? Communicating with employees?
Absolutely.
And the importance of that. You would agree that that effective communications are a critical part of your job?
I would agree that effective communication, sure, I mean, they're an important part of any job.
And, I mean, communicating policies clearly with subordinates is important, correct?
Communications is always important, right?
And you took that that aspect, the art of effective communication. Are you good at it? Would you describe yourself as being good at it, above average? How would you?
I've never been assessed. I like to think that I'm a reasonably good communicator, but I imagine that we all do. So I'd say I'm an above average communicator because I've had the training, and I do have done this coursework and been working in the field for a number of years.
And you worked for 7 years, well, for 2 years with NIDA University, and then following 7 years after that with the Department of Defense, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And at the Department of Defense, you've come across the chain of command. You're familiar with that terminology, correct?
Of course.
And the importance, I mean, employees, or subordinates, they rely upon their chain of command, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean.
If there's questions or if they have issues or concerns with policies that may be in place, a subordinate should go to their supervisor or someone who's in that chain of command, correct?
Absolutely, and that's why I was there to answer any questions that any employees had about policies while I was working at PUD.
And while you were at the Department of Defense, you had come across employees who English was their second language, correct?
Yes, I had the pleasure of working with many of those individuals.
And as a supervisor of somebody who speaks English as a second language, not their primary language, you would agree you have a responsibility to ensure that when you communicate with them, they understand the message that you're communicating, correct?
I think I try to make sure that all of my employees understand the message. I don't know if you're trying to get at more than that, but I try to make sure that everyone understands everything that I say.
And do you agree with the statement that you're responsible, or you have a responsibility to set up your employees for success?
I would hope that I'm trying to set up everyone around me for success. My employees, my employers, myself, the potential shareholders of this company. I'm trying to make sure that everyone is successful.
So the answer is you do want to set up your employees for success, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have just said yes there.
Now, you would agree that as a supervisor, you have, especially a human resource manager, it's important to know what the limitations may be for subordinates. That's a broad term. The limitations regarding communications, learning, if an employee has an impediment, it's important for you to know that, correct?
I would try to know as much as possible about my employees within the limitation that there are only so many hours in a day.
And you agree that people learn differently, right? Some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, some people learn best by doing on-the-job, hands-on type training. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I can absolutely agree with that.
Okay. Now, focusing on the policy here for a second, the policy that you implemented was approved by Mr. Puckett, correct?
Mr. Pickett, yes, I believe, and his daughter, they both approved it.
And it was a policy that was based on a survey or a study that you commissioned with Ms. Martinez, correct?
Well, I asked Ms. Martinez to run some numbers for me, so I would say yes.
And those numbers that you developed this policy on are estimates. They're not hard numbers. By that I mean it's not verified losses. It's just tax numbers and projections based on a bunch of assumptions, correct?
Well, there's no way to figure out in solid, definite terms how much money one will lose in the future. So yes, they're necessarily estimates.
So the $200,000 a year estimated to be $1 million over 5, it may be significantly lower than that. In fact, you don't know what the losses would be, correct?
I don't know exactly, but I would be surprised if the number were significantly lower. In fact, it may well be higher.
Right. It could be higher and it could be lower because we don't know, correct?
Well, you're sort of getting at a metaphysical question here. We don't know. I have great faith in this estimate, though.
Okay. Now, do you have any hard data of losses attributable to Ms. Brzezinski?
No.
So, all right. Now, switching gears a little to the policy that you announced, that was announced on the floor of the warehouse, correct?
Among other places, but I did announce it on the floor of the warehouse.
Let me be more accurate. The initial announcement of that policy, 30 days prior to its effective date, was on the floor of the warehouse, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And that was during the, what I would phrase, the duty day, during normal operating hours, correct?
That's right, yes.
And the warehouse doors were going up and down and trucks were coming in and out, correct?
Warehouse doors were, well, I mean, the warehouse was functioning, so
Right.
yes, I didn't ask everybody to, including drivers, to stop their work, yes.
So normal operations were ongoing when you had this discussion with Ms. Brzezinski, correct?
When I had the discussion with everyone, yes.
And so you didn't stop operations and call everybody into a conference room or into...
I didn't have the authority to do that.
You didn't close the doors to reduce noise?
No, I didn't think that was necessary.
You, when you made the announcement, there wasn't a give and take with the employees, correct? It was your announcement with no follow-on Q&A or question and answer session, correct?
No, I didn't want to embarrass employees by sort of subjecting them to a kindergarten-style analysis of whether they understood what I just said. That's right.
There was no polling of the employees afterwards to find out if they understood the policy, like a random sampling?
Yeah, again, I didn't want to put anyone on the spot.
Right. There was no use of a anonymous survey, correct? But
no, I certainly never thought of doing an anonymous survey. No, I did not do that.
Did you have a town hall meeting afterwards to see if any of the employees had a concern?
I sort of thought of this as a town hall meeting, so no, I after that invited all of the employees to come to my office, and many of them did.
Now, you provided Mr. Dover with 100 plus copies of the policy to be distributed to employees, correct?
Yes, Ashley Dover, the lead worker, I gave him 100 copies.
In fact, he's the union steward, correct?
I'm sorry, yes, the union steward, yes.
And so you gave him 100 copies, and you relied upon the union steward because of the importance of his role, right, as a liaison between management and the employees, correct?
Yes, I think it goes back to what you said earlier about chain of command. There may be something in the collective bargaining agreement, but I gave it to the head of the union. Okay,
so, and again, as I stated, you relied upon him because of his position over, for lack of a better term, the employees, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, and in fact, after the third violation that Ms. Brzezinski had, part of the collective bargaining agreement discusses the employee and the union steward having the opportunity to come and see you, correct?
That's right, yes.
Now, because we're running out of time, let's focus on after the fourth violation, Ms. Brzezinski didn't make up the time, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
But that was because she told the union steward, and the union steward, do you recall what he told her to do?
I do not.
Would it shock?
Is there anything you can point me to refresh my recollection?
I think it's in Exhibit 20. He told her that she was not to make up the time. Does that surprise you?
I have no reason to believe it's true or false. I would hope that the union steward would not act in contravention to the policy, but I've been around long enough to know that